My name is Alek Wek, and I reside in New York. And we're here for CNN, Everyday People, Heroes. And I'm one of the Blue Ribbon panelists, and it's very humbling, but very honored.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as a supermodel, what's your tie with Millennium Development Goals?
Personally, or in terms of,
It just seems like two complete different things, but I'm sure there's like an overlap.
yeah, absolutely, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Because personally, I always felt, even just having to have escaped from Southern Sudan with my family and to reside in England as, for me as refugee, and having that opportunity of freedom, I never forgot about the others that haven't had such opportunity. And I always vow to say, if anything, what fashion has given me, it's great. I've been able to travel the world, and I've had a career to be able to pay my bills, let's say, but it's the voice.
Right.
And that's very tangible, let's say. And I think we have a social responsibility, not just me working in fashion, but every other person can be able to give back in their own ways. And that's why CNN Heroes inspired me a lot to see that just everyday, average Joe is not forgotten what they're doing, and they don't do it because somebody else has to see it. They do it for another fellow human being. So for sure, moving forward, I always work with different NGOs, whether it's Doctors Without Borders, US Committee for Refugees, or RED. People that actually devote throughout the year their time and energy to help out another human being, another child, mother, or an elderly. So that's a lifetime for me. That's not like a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan.
Right.
I think all together, collectively, we can make it powerful, and that's what makes a nation, and that's what makes a difference. So that's one of them. In terms of working in fashion, I start to work in moderation. It's not obviously doing 10 shows in each city because I have other projects I'm working on. And I come from 9 children, so I want to have a family one day, and you can't just keep leaving the house and packing your bags every day or two. Bye, darling. I'll see you later. You can't do that. So that's definitely in my plans, and continuing my creative freedom, whether it's design. I have a non-for-profit I just started working to educate kids, which can work together with the other NGOs. But this is a good base that I can at least, because I was 16 years old once upon a time, and that's when the light bulb switched on me, and that's when I really was inspired with the people around me that were giving back, and that were not just selfish about themselves, but also felt really good about covering something that meant bigger than who we are, if it makes sense.
Yeah. So, we've been talking about all of the Millennium Development Goals, and some people have been speaking about particular ones. All of them are important, but is there one that you're, particularly eager to see achieved by 2015?
I would say HIV/AIDS is very important. There's no cure for it. Cancer, there's no cure for it. But I think working together and raising awareness of the preventions, because you're talking about when we travel around the world, there's culture differences, there's a stigma, but how do we break through that without recognizing that? And I think we've come a long way, and it hasn't gone away. And even today, we made so many changes. The medications for people living with HIV/AIDS, before it used to be a death toll. Now it's not. They can actually live healthy lives if they do take the medications, but it costs, because if you do research, people living, especially in Africa, underdeveloped third world countries, they live, I mean, not even $5 a day, very little. So imagine just paying for the medication and you don't even have something to eat. So we've come a long way that way, but I think for the millennium is to be able to make that awareness very clear where everybody has an access to it. And then at the end, if they don't want to be involved, then that's a personal choice. But I feel in my heart, so many people want to get involved and want to make a difference. And we know when we come together as people, that can make such a huge difference. And I think that is in the millennium, that is what would be really amazing for people to have access and to be able to come together and to be able to identify, because you can't force somebody to believe in something, but when they see with their own eyes and they do research, but you have to give them that outlet, that would be really wonderful. And poverty, of course. That would be great.
You know, and some people say that HIV and AIDS has had, you know, so much media attention and so much coverage. People are aware of that, and other diseases like TB and malaria don't get as much attention. Do you think that's, you know, driving the attention in the wrong way, or is there truth to be told in that?
I mean, we can't stand here and say one is important than the other, because anything that's killing a human being in such tremendous amount of numbers is something to be addressed. And when you're talking about malaria, for example, and TB, I mean, these are not diseases that infect people, let's say, in New York or in London, but there are going to be cases. You know why? Because it hasn't become an epidemic. Because you also you have to talk about the environment that we live in. You know, it can be controlled, but where are you talking about third world and underdeveloped countries? It cannot be controlled. And then the medications are not so advanced as they were before, especially when malaria becomes advanced, TB becomes advanced. But that's where I praise organizations such as RED, because it's not just for AIDS. If you can go on the website and read about it. This is not just me standing here talking about it. They actually subsidize $2 million just for Sudan. So imagine other regions in Africa, and you're talking about subsidizing Doctors Without Borders that work with people in the community that help treat malaria, TB, yellow fever. So it's not just about AIDS, and of course also with AIDS. So they do cover that, because at the end you have to cover the whole spectrum. You can't just cover one disease. But AIDS, you know, as we know, it's not just in underdeveloped third world, but even in the US, in Europe, it's a huge issue. And that's something that we can't forget, and we can't, you know, sweep under the rug. We have to address it as a nation and as people. And